Hello, welcome to this West London Sport QPR podcast. I'm joined by the usual lineup of Ian McCullough, Ben Kosky, and former QPR striker Kevin Gallen. Massive result for QPR on Saturday, beating West Brom 1-0. Charlie Austin coming on to score late against his former club to lift them up to fourth in the table. That's a massive result, Kev, really was, wasn't it? I mean, when you look at Warburton's time at the club, now in his third season, do you think this goes down as one of the sort of biggest victories they've had since he's taken over at the club?
Yeah, it's a very good victory because you're up against a good team, a team that's just been relegated from the Premiership, and has some good players that spent a lot of money. It's one of those games where you're thinking if you win it, you got a chance of getting promoted or getting into the playoffs or whatever. But like second position is now not out of sight at all. I think there's still so many ups and downs and twists and turns remaining in this campaign. We're coming to the middle of January. It's all to play for. QPR in good form, three straight victories. Game against Coventry on Saturday to look forward to. The players will be very confident. The fans, I think, are going in their numbers, 4,000 from what I'm reading. So great away support at a really good stadium. It's a really good game for QPR, one that they should be very confident going into. But beating West Brom, like I said, a promotion candidate and a rival, and to do it, in the last few minutes at the Loft End, it's a very special result for QPR.
Yeah, there's such a feel good factor around the place at the moment. Like Saturday was absolutely buzzing after the final whistle went. Great atmosphere. Is this you mentioned about obviously trying to get into the top two there? Like, is this game and maybe the recent run as well, kind of changed your perception of QPR and maybe what they can do this season? Because I think we've kind of in our heads had them down as playoff challengers and a team that can get in the playoffs this season. But given how things have gone recently in that game, Kev, has it changed anything for you? Maybe you think now more likely maybe to make that challenge for the top two now?
I think there's a QPR. West Brom will be still looking for that second spot. I think it's all to play for. QPR are really good form. We've got Seny Dieng and Chair out at the moment, but they come back hopefully in 3 or 4 weeks, and that's that's another two really good players to add onto the squad. I do think QPR will try and do something in the next couple of weeks to get a couple of bodies in, just to give the team and the club and the fans a bit of confidence and a push to try and get into the second position. But it's not far away, is it? I do believe it's a winnable game on Saturday. And the thing with QPR this season is the games that they haven't lost. The Fulham game maybe away and Bournemouth at home. They were better teams, but other than that, QPR have been in every game. And even the Bournemouth game at home, and I know they were a better team on the day, you're still in with a puncher's chance. You're 1-0 down. You're 1-0 down at QPR. You're kicking into the loft. The balls go in the box. Anything can happen. And you're still in. We were still in with a chance of getting a draw. So QPR have never been out of any game other than the Fulham away, I would say, where they were, a bit outclassed on that day. Well in every game and well capable of beating any team in this division, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if Fulham don't win the league. It's not just QPR they've beaten heavily this season. They've beaten a lot of other teams more heavily as well. I mean, look at the Reading game the other day. I mean, Kev, you've been in teams in a similar position. You've been in QPR teams in a similar position to where they are now. Like, what can a win like West Brom kind of do for the squad? I suppose you kind of look back, don't you, at key moments in the season, like after they're finished, if you do end up achieving what you want to do and how important they were. Like, what can that sort of do for the team?
Yeah, I mean, the lads would have come in on Monday absolutely buzzing, banter in the changing rooms before training. Everyone said, feel good fact that when you're winning matches, a football club is the greatest place to be working in. It's when you're losing, it's a bit shaky. But I think the game against Bristol City, where you play poorly and you win, and then you sort of think, oh, is this going to be our season? Do you know what I mean? That game was where we didn't really play well at all. And you get Barbe scores a last minute header and you're thinking, is it going to be our season this year? Hope so. looks that way when you score last-minute headers like that and don't really play well and nick a win. So not only is the West Brom is a great game, like an icing on the cake where top team in this division spend a lot of money and you win last minute, but it's the games when you go away and you don't play so well and you just grind out results. And I think if you look at the times when QPR have got promoted in the 2011 and when I was playing in 2004, sort of maybe some games didn't play well, especially away from home, but just ground out a result, a draw here, a win there, when we weren't dominating, when we weren't great. And it just keeps the momentum going, and then the fans go home happy and everyone's happy, and it's just the feel-good factor of the club at the moment.
I think that was one of the best things about the West Brom game as well, is that in the first half, maybe West Brom slightly edged it. Wasn't a whole lot in it, but second half, I thought QPR were brilliant. You know, they come out straight second half. Obviously, Mark Warburton had told them to get into them, that they were there to be got at, and they did, and they were so good to start that second half, and they kept it up, you know, for the whole thing, and I think they deserved their win. You mentioned Barbet there. You know, he scored the win against Bristol City. Obviously, Saturday took a right nudge in the back from DK, who came on, cut all his head open, was down for a few minutes, bandaged it up. I think, Ian, you said after the game, we kind of spoke, didn't we, about that being one of his best games. I mean, he's been so important, hasn't he, for QPR in this sort of run, and for his whole time at the club, really. I think he'll go down as one of the best, you know, top signings they've made in recent years.
Yeah, he certainly has. I mean, I think I was saying to a mate of mine the other day, like, the way he's improved from that sort of first season where he always looked like a lovely footballer with the ball at his feet, but he was a bit impetuous, giving away silly penalties and prone to the odd kind of mistake. But, you know, really, for a free transfer, he's been a brilliant signing, really. But again, it wasn't until recently that I realised he's only 28. So when he arrived at QPR, he's sort of only, you know, 24, 25. So in many ways, just still learning his trade as a centre-back. But
Ian, quick question, just the formation change has suited him down to the ground.
I was just going to come on to that. Yeah. But since they've gone to a back three, it really has sort of elevated his game, really. I don't think I've ever seen a player benefit more from a change in formation. But I think what's unbelievable as well, just the number of successive games he's played. I mean, to be a centre-back in the Championship and not be suspended, not be injured, to play through it. And, you know, he played the back end of last season. He had a broken shoulder, which, you know, emerged at the end of the season. That came against Swansea, where he went up for a header and the forward sort of craned his back and he went over his back and landed on his shoulder. And he played through that and wasn't training to the end of last season. He was just being patched up to play games. And, you know, that sort of says a lot about him and the way he soldiered on after getting, you know, the head injury against DK. He was absolutely brilliant, just winning headers, and it seemed to kind of galvanise him and the rest of the team after that incident. You know, he made two outstanding covering tackles just to, you know, stop certain West Brom, not certain, but kind of very good scoring opportunities at West Brom. And just a reaction from him at the end and the players, it really shows a togetherness in the team that, you know, I think it's always kind of been there under Warburton, but it's certainly sort of developed. And as Kev says, when winning cures all ills, and, you know, everyone's in a good place at the moment. The fans, the players, there's a good feeling around the club. But yeah, it's a long way to go. It's still, but you kind of have to look at it and think fourth in January, and look at the games they have got coming up. You know, they're all very winnable. A lot of them are at home, so, you know, they're in a very good spot at the moment.
Yeah, he was so good. I mean, the first thing that he did when he got back up, got his head bandaged round, was he went straight back in on DK and like won the ball off him like immediately just after getting up. I thought he was, like you said, I think probably the best I've seen him play for QPR, if not right up there with some of the best performances he's had. But I mean, he wasn't the only one, was he, Ben? I mean, who else kind of like stood out for you? Do you think deserves a special credit for that win and the performance on Saturday?
Well, I'd agree with the assessment of Barbe. I mean, I think those of us of a certain generation couldn't help but remember the images of Terry Butcher playing for England with the head bandaged and blood dripping down his face. It was just like that, and it does give everyone a lift, as you say, because you'd expect a player to go off the field after that, and Barbe was having none of that. He's coming back on and seeing the game out, and and helping the team to the win. I mean, I felt Jimmy Dunn again. I know we say this every week, but Jimmy Dunn has just got better and better for me, and I think it's a measure of that. That you go back to not so long ago, and the defender that we were all talking about every game pretty much was Rob Dickie, and Ian was giving him 9 out of 10 minimum every game, and so on, and it was often, or quite often, very deserved. But you know, Dickie is almost, not that he's played badly, but he's sort of almost faded into the background, because I think Dunn and Barbet, for me, have just, you know, become almost the key figures in that defence. So Dunn, certainly one of those. I felt Sam Field had a good game as well. I think, you know, he doesn't do the spectacular things. He does the tidy things, the graft, if you like. And that was really needed against West Brom, because I think, as Ian mentioned last time, in that away game at West Brom, they kind of had Livermore running the show and really putting them under pressure. And I feel he was trying to do that again Saturday. And, you know, and it needed someone like Field to counter that, because Johansson is not the sort of player who is going to play that kind of game. He needs time on the ball. And Field sort of, I thought, did the, you know, the ugly stuff, if you like, very, very efficiently. I think also a word for David Marshall, because experienced goalkeeper, but not easy to come straight into the side at a new club in a big game like that. And, you know, and I felt his presence at the back was just what was needed. He did everything for me, did everything right. Didn't have that many actual saves to make, but when he was called on, he did well. And just really picking up on what all of you, I think, have referenced already, just the atmosphere around the ground. There was something very reminiscent of those seasons that we've talked about, particularly, I think, the promotion season under Ian Holloway all those years ago that Kev played in. Very much just that feel of everyone kind of pulling in the same direction, and really good to see. And let's hope it continues the next few months.
Sorry, and just going to say, there has been a couple of games under Warburton. The Leeds game a couple of years ago, and they won. That was a great atmosphere. And I think under McLaren, the win over Brentford was pretty good. But I would go down and say that's the biggest result they've had since they got relegated from the Premier League. And I think the atmosphere in the ground that day is as good as it has been, you know, in that time.
I was going to say as well, Ben, I mean, I completely agree on Field. Obviously, he had the injury at the start of the year, didn't he? Didn't play, and it took him, I guess, a while to get back up to speed. And we've kind of spoken between us before about who we kind of think is the best midfield partner for Johansson, and I thought it worked really well. And Mark Warburton spoke about it in his press conference after, how he kind of played Johansson a little bit further forward and was getting him to kind of, I guess, try and create a little bit more rather than being that deep line midfielder. And I thought Field was like the kind of perfect partner for him in that position. I thought he mopped up really well. Was really strong, you know, got into challenges, and he almost looked like, out of all the kind of players available, I think he is maybe like the ideal kind of partner for Johansson moving forward now.
To be honest with you, Dan, I'm not sure we should even be talking in terms of the ideal partner for Johansson, because to me, the strength they've got in that midfield, Johansson is not someone, I know he's the team captain, but I don't think he should be an automatic pick.
No, I think he's got to play. I think even though when he gives the ball away, he's passing into those areas, he's got the quality that I don't think any of the others have, really.
I think what I mean by that is it depends on, you know, the match situation, and sometimes you've got the sort of match that, in my view, just doesn't suit Johansson, and sometimes you've got to have a different combination in there. So you know, I'm not saying as you rightly said, Dan, he can do teams a lot of damage in the right conditions. I just feel sometimes it shouldn't. I think when you're selecting a team, it shouldn't be a case of Johansson +1 in that centre midfield. I think there should be other options as well, and sometimes it might be Field with Luke Amos, or Field with Dazelle, or whatever you know, the occasion demands, and that's a good thing, because to me, the more options you've got in more positions, that's you know, that shows something's going right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, after the win, QPR now sort of 5 points off Bournemouth in second, got a game in hand as well. Obviously, Blackburn are up there too. Charlie Austin said after the win that it sent out a message to the rest of the Championship.
winning this game of football sends out a message to the whole championship that we are here, we are growing as a squad, we are growing as a team, management staff, players, everyone, we are growing our characters are growing.
Do you agree with that, Kev, that maybe this has changed, or that this game has changed sort of perception of QPR around the league?
Not necessarily. I think the teams that have played QPR have obviously realised that they're a good team, because we've won more games than we haven't this season, and that usually is the indication of a good team when you're winning matches. Look, anyone who comes to QPR at the moment, all the whole season, and comes down, especially even home and away, they're in for a tough game, and you've got to be at your best to beat QPR, because they're one of the better teams in the division. It was a great result, but then you don't follow up a great result with a poor result away at Coventry. You've got to keep your feet grounded, and you've got to work hard, and that's in the past now. Now you look till Saturday, and you've got to try and pick up a result or 3 points, hopefully, but even just a draw. We take a draw now. I think QPR are good enough to win at Coventry, but a draw is not the end of the world. Always picking up a point away from home ain't the end of the world. I still think we're a better team than Coventry. I think we can beat them, and I think we can beat most teams. And you have to have a bit of luck. You've got to have your players and your important players fit and in form. And at the moment, QPR have got that. We've got 2 players to come back, and like I said it a couple of minutes ago, I think that QPR will try and get someone in to help the team, a couple of players in to help the team to the end of the season, a loan or whatever. Back to what Ian was saying about Barbe, I have to big shout out to him because of his consistency of being on the pitch week in, week out, and that is something that is very difficult to do. It sort of reminds me of I remember when Steve Palmer was captain when I came back with Ian Holloway. Steve Palmer was fit every day for training and fit every Saturday, Tuesday. And you've got to give credit to players like that who look after themselves so well to be out on the pitch and available to get selected. And Barbe, I don't know, what is it? How many games has he played on the spin now? It's something really, is it 60? I don't know. But whatever it is, it's a credit to him. And I've got to say, well done to him.
I mean, like you said, there's a lot that goes into it, isn't there, for the rest of the season? There's injury luck. There's, had Chair and DN come back from African Cup of Nations. What do QPR do in January? But also maybe just as important, what do other clubs up there do in January as well? I'm sure they'll all be looking to add to the squad. But if you had to kind of call it now for the rest of the season, Kev, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but can you see QPR making a good run at that top 2? Do you think they've got what it takes to really have a go and maybe get in there?
I think we'll have a good go. Whether we get there or not, I'm 50-50. I mean, I do think that Fulham and Bournemouth have the best 2 squads in the division. If they keep everyone fit, those 2 teams, I expect them to be 1 and 2. But that's not to say that we can't push them and get close to them and, finish as high as we can in the table. And hopefully, and I do believe that we've got an excellent chance of the playoffs. And then even we do get into the playoffs, I think we're capable of beating any team in the division, home and away.
Yeah, I mean,
I really do.
Yeah, for me, I think I expected QPR to be in that challenge for the playoffs at the start of the year, and I think they've got every chance of getting in there at the end of the year. And I think that's got to be still the focus. Then you can get too carried away, with obviously praising up this West Brom result, but it is only 1 win. But I think the way they played against West Brom, the way they went about it, and the Bristol City game as well, like you said earlier, Kev, even though they didn't play well, they still got the win, and that's a really good characteristic to have. And it has kind of changed my view of what maybe QPR can do this year. We see so often, don't we, that there's, like you say, Fulham and Bournemouth, 2 big clubs up there that everyone kind of expects to run away with it. And I'd be very surprised if Fulham didn't win the league. I mean, they're winning 7-0, 6-2 all the time at the moment. It's just ridiculous. I think they'll finish first, but we do see quite often that a team like QPR, where they don't seemingly have as much quality as another team, they haven't got anywhere near as much investment into the squad. But there's just a feel-good factor around the place. There's something good going on there, and they seem to play really well together. And I think they could have a real go at getting in there. I wouldn't be surprised if they could get that second spot.
When you the manager will say on Monday, right, this is, you can get overhyped in matches and winning, which was a great result, and then you can go 2 down when you lose, and it's the end of the world. It's not really. When you're a player, you need to just win there, lose, you're down there a little bit, but you just got to keep on that sort of, it's not highs and lows. Oh, you win, it's the best thing ever. And when you lose, oh, it's the worst thing ever. Look, you can lose a match and not deserve to lose a match. It's like the Bristol City away. Did we deserve to win? Not really, but we won. You don't go massively high and we're going to win the league because we beat Bristol City in the last minute. And if we lose at home to Stoke, we're not going to get in the playoffs. No. You've got to keep on a level and just keep going. The next game is always the most important. Play, recover, go again. And it's relentless. The Championship's relentless. Saturday, Tuesday. And you've got to keep on that level and keep calm and relaxed. And I'm sure the manager and everyone around in the training ground will be telling the lads, right, that's over. Calm down now, lads. It was a great result. Now we've got to concentrate on Coventry.
Kevin, how big a thing is it that it's Saturday to Saturday at the moment? Do you think playing that game Saturday against West Brom, they've got like a whole week to go into the next game? Do players prefer that, or would you rather have another game on the Tuesday? Does it work in their favour?
I think it can. If you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and with this international weekend, and then you have 2 weeks off. I mean, it sort of drives me mad a little bit where they just bundle in games Saturday, Tuesday. So you're basically not. If you play Saturday, you're recovering Sunday in massage, whatever, little jog. Monday is pretty much another recovery day, and you go again. So Saturday to Saturday is, you prefer it because you can actually do some proper training and build a sort of whatever tactics. You come in on a Monday, you probably do a 60% session level. You get to Tuesday, you might do an 80, 90% session. You have Wednesday off. And then Thursday and Friday will be like tactical work and talking about Coventry on the Saturday. So Saturday to Saturday, I'm sure the players prefer, but Saturday, Tuesday is not bad either, especially if you're winning. If you're losing, it's no good, Ian. But when you're winning, it's good.
Ian, what do you think about the top 2? Is it something that should be in QPR's sights? Is it something they can go after, or are you still sort of set on playoffs being the aim this year?
I mean, you aim as high as you can, don't you? Fulham and Bournemouth have got the best 2 squads.
Yeah.
But that said, there's a hell of a lot of pressure on Bournemouth to go up. I think Fulham will win the league probably by 10 points. But just for the future of Bournemouth as a club, they need to go up this year. There's a lot of pressure. Put a lot of eggs in one basket there. They don't have a big ground. FFP, as we've seen what it's doing with Derby and Sheffield Wednesday, these kind of things, and what QPR have been through, you have to go up really in those first 2 years. So that'll be weighing on their mind. But they've got some good players there. Gary Cahill's a great signing for them, and Solanke's are decent at this level. So, but you have to think Blackburn haven't really got enough credit for what they've done.
Oh, they've been superb.
They got shellacked 7-0 at home, and they've won every game since. Mowbray's a great. I really like Mowbray. He's a good manager. He's got teams promoted in the past, and I think them and QPR are probably outside of media circles. They're sort of they're surprise packages. Well, particularly with QPR, I mean, managers this season have all said, Rangers are a good side. I mean, Carlos Corberan, the Huddersfield manager, was very complimentary, as was Mowbray, as various others. So in football terms, and if you're looking at where they were last year, if you're looking at, I'm going to use racing parlance here. They were a good 2-year-old last year in the second half of last season, and they're a good 3-year-old now running for the Derby. And there's no reason why they can't be knocking on the door for second place. But you also have clubs like Middlesbrough have been galvanised. I mean, Chris Wilder is arguably the best manager in this division. He knows what he's doing. He's got Middlesbrough going, and Forest, they'll throw money at it to try and push. And there's other sort of problems. Sheffield United haven't got going yet. You wouldn't surprise you if they made a late push. And so there's different kind of pressures, really. I mean, I think Rangers just got to focus on finish as high as you can and let the rest look after itself. But if you start saying, right, we're definitely going to go for the top 2, that can put undue pressure on you. Just do your best. As Kev says, you have to take every game as it comes, and just where it takes you is where it takes you.
I honestly think we could see a Blackburn or a QPR sneak into that second spot and Bournemouth fall into the playoffs. I just think it's lining up to be that sort of season. yeah, what do you think, Ben? I'll ask you the same as I asked Dean and Kev about top two and how likely that is that QPR could make a push for that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's two things, Dan. I mean, I always tend to look at the maths when it comes to these sort of questions, and if you look at what QPR are on at the moment, and you project that over the course of the season, they're on course to finish on 80 points or just over. That's going to get you in the playoffs, I think, almost certainly. If you're looking at the top two, you've got to be closer to 90. And when you stack that up, that's averaging more than 2 points a game for the rest of the season. I've got to say, I think it's a tall order. I really do. And I don't think that should be seen as a negative, because you've got to remember where the team, the club has come from. This is the first year that QPR have put together anything resembling a challenge for the playoffs since they came down from the Premier League. First year. So being in that mix, that is a big achievement. And to get in the top six would be a big achievement. Always got to keep that in mind. The other factor, I think, with the playoffs, and I'm slightly puzzled, Dan, you might be able to elaborate, sort of following NBA and things like that, where they have a very different system of playoffs. I've never been able to quite understand why we have this system of the playoffs where there is actually no tangible advantage to finishing third or sixth. None whatsoever. I know that people will say you get your home leg second. I don't think that's any notable advantage. And what I mean by that is, we see it so often, quite often the team that that ultimately goes up through the playoffs is the one that has come in with a run. It's not always the team that has pushed for the top two and then just missed out and finished in third. And often they're the ones that sort of end up empty-handed. So what I'm saying is, I think, of course, it would be nice. Of course, you want to push as hard as you can, but let's not lose sight of the fact that at the moment, being in fourth place in the league, being in with a very good chance of making the playoffs at this stage, that is a big achievement. It's a big turnaround from where QPR was just over a year ago.
I'll tell you what, what is a big disappointment is if you're going for second and you get to the last day of the season and you end up third.
Yeah. When's that happened to you, Kev?
No, but it nearly happened when we got promoted. And I do believe that if we didn't have won at Sheffield Wednesday, I don't think we would have. I think it would have been such a low, it was such a negative that I don't think we would have done the playoffs. It was like we had
that game at Hillsborough, Kev, when they flashed it up on the screen, that I think it was Bristol City had the better. Bristol City had to better QPR's result to go up. Is that right?
Yeah. So we had they put up their. We all had our brown trousers on at the time.
But that's midway through the first half, I think, wasn't it? They did.
Yeah, it was after 20 minutes they put up Bristol City winning 1-0. We was like, oh my God, pressure is right on now.
Halfway through the first half, they did that.
Yeah, but after 20 minutes.
And you know what?
I don't think we would have got promoted if we didn't win that game, because I think we put so much eggs in one basket, got to get it promoted this day. Thankfully, we did.
And actually, what Kev has said is borne out. I'm just remembering that season, Bristol City, who then finished third, having missed out. They didn't go up in the playoffs.
No, Brighton did.